Welcome, everyone. We are live. It is Wednesday. Mm, It's a little bit uh, overcast this morning, I would say. No color in the sky just yet. A little bit. He might still be asleep so far, but he'll chime in when he's ready, I suppose. Today we're talking about, do you need a stiff upper lip or not? You see, that's a very quote unquote British thing to say, a stiff upper lip, meaning you face the world and all of its hardships and you just grin and you bear it. Stiff upper lip. But listen, the law is firm. It is what it is. It can be perceived as rigid. It doesn't give at all. It just is. So if we know that the law doesn't give, meaning it does not bend under pressure or favoritism, we don't need a stiff upper lip. We are required to be flexible. Well, think about this. If the law is rigid, if you come up against it and you are rigid, only one of them will break, and it will not be the law. What do I mean by that? I mean, in nature, when you look around, look at the law of correspondence. As within, so without. As above, so below. Above is within, below is on the outside, without. When you go to garden and you say, I would like to grow me some carrots. The law is rigid. If you plant carrots, you will only be eating carrots. So you see, it is rigid. It will not change. It simply says, as you sow, so shall you reap. What you plant, you will always experience. It works for the garden. And if you use the principle of correspondence again to say, as above, so below, well, in your mind is also a garden. So whatever thoughts you plant in that garden of your mind, those are the types of experiences you will live out. The law does not play favorites. It doesn't say, well, Angela had a hard day yesterday, so let me just give her a great day today. No, the law does not have feelings. It is a law, it is a principle, it is unbreakable. The word is immutable, it will not change. So you and I get to be flexible. Flexible in what area? In what you choose. This is how we get to be flexible, in what we choose. Always choice. And as long as you make the choice, if you say, I'm going to plant carrots, if you say, I'm going to have a good day, well, then it is expected that you have a good day. Why? Because that was your declaration. That was the seed you chose. Now, here's something. We just had major rain, and in the east of the city, they had major hail damage. That is life. When you go through the world and you're living, there will be strange weather, meaning there'll be circumstances that you go through. There'll be circumstances that you go through day in and day out, just like the weather. Sometimes it's sunny, sometimes it rains, sometimes it snows. But if you notice, it has its own rhythm that it follows, nature. We are in summer. We are just at the peak of summer. So when things hit their peak, then they begin to decline. It is ebb and flow. So when you are in the flow of summer, it is hot, it is sticky. You live according to summer. See, you're the one who's flexible. You live according to summer. Because when fall comes in September and October, that's when we begin to harvest things. Everything has a season. So you live according to the seasons. When you live according to the season, you're much more prepared. Now, if you live where we live, sometimes in or late August, early September, we could get snow. And you're like, wait, why? Because it happens every year. This is just what it is. It happens. So as you go through life, you will encounter situations. You just will. Remember, those situations, like weather, they have their own pattern and we live through them. But it doesn't mean that the seasons can break you. It simply means you prepare yourself because you know the season is changing. You know it's going to change. So prepare yourself. This is exactly what is happening. You're going to go through things because we do. We all go through things because we live on this planet. But at no time do you give in to what we would call, quote unquote, hardship. If you encounter a hardship, apply the principles. You look at the situation you're in. You acknowledge the situation you're in. You don't panic, even though it's human nature to panic. Because we worry, right? When our safety is threatened, we worry. But when you come to the conclusion and the understanding that you are all that there is, the all is in all. When you come to that understanding, you look in the mirror and you say, I've got this. What situation, how do I want it to go? And you start seeing it the way you want it to go. I will always give you the analogy of the seamstress or the tailor or the potter at the wheel. All they have is the image in their mind's eye. Like the woman who crocheted her dress. I was like, girl, come on. Who does this? She did not draw a pattern out. She didn't sketch anything anywhere. She only had it in her mind's eye. All creation starts there inside the imagination. And because it starts inside the imagination, it's like a seed. It will flourish and you've got to bring it out. So all she did was follow the pattern in her mind's eye. This is what we do. So if the pattern in your mind's eye is, oh my God, this is so hard, I'm never going to make it. If that is the pattern, what do you think you'll live out? So you've got to change the pattern. How do you want to change the pattern? What do you want it to look like? And you know, she said something interesting when she was making her dress. She said, I had to pull out so many stitches because it didn't match what I saw in my head. That's it right there. We do what we do according to what we see in our mind's eye. It is how we live our lives. There's no way around it. The moment you say, what do I want for dinner? You get an image. Or you get a taste for something. And that is what you'll have for dinner. If you don't have that for dinner, you'll realize that you weren't satisfied by dinner because you had your heart set on something else. So you see, do you need a stiff upper lip? No. One simply is in need of knowing the principles and applying the principles. And because we have new people in the space, we're going to go through what those principles are. Because faith comes by hearing. The more you hear it, you'll grasp it and you'll learn it. Mentalism. The all is mind. The universe is a mental creation. Whatever does it mean? It means you are aware of yourself. You're aware of yourself. But funnily enough, if I ask you your name, or if I ask you who you are, you'll tell me your name. That's what you are aware of being. Your name. You're aware of being your name. But do you notice you are aware first? And then you know your name. So what we're concerned with is awareness. That is mentalism. You are aware of yourself. And then whatever you are aware of being, you get to act it out. As within, so without. The law of correspondence. Why? Because everything vibrates, everything moves. Nothing stands still. You know, there's a saying in the world that everything changes. That's exactly what it means. And it changes because it is constantly moving. Moving how? Well, polarity. Moving from where it is right now to where it is going. We all move, do we not? Right now, some of us are moving from where we are at home to work. We're always moving, but there's only one thing moving, and that is you. Moving from to, that is the law of polarity. They look like they're opposites. Home and work look like they're opposites, but they're the same in their nature. When you're at home, you do work. When you're at work, you do work. So they're both the same. It's just a matter of what rate they're moving at. You know, at home, you're much more relaxed, so you move slower. At work, well, you got to pick up the pace a little bit. Or at school. So you're moving from where you are to where you're going. And then it takes you into the principle of rhythm. The ebb and the flow, the high tide and the low tide, winter, spring, summer, fall, that is rhythm. Because everything moves in a particular rhythm, in a particular pattern. And the reason it moves that way is so you can identify it. I told you before, it's like roses, same pattern. It doesn't matter if it's a blue rose, a yellow rose, a pink rose, a white rose, it doesn't matter. A rose is a rose. How? Because of the pattern. You can identify it. So a pattern makes things predictable. Like, for instance, I gave you the notion of the bank robber. He sits outside of the bank and he just watches. He's not bored. He's watching the pattern. He's watching the habit of the people who come and go at the bank. Why? Because he wants to be able to get away with his loot. So rhythm and patterns make things predictable so that you can see when they start, see when they end, so you know when they start again. But from that rhythm, that pattern, you now have cause and effect. You know that if you go and you just pluck the rose with your bare hand, a thorn will prick you, because that is the nature. The rhythm of roses are thorns and ants. But let's not forget their beautiful smell. So because you picked the rose and you didn't know, there's the thorn. Cause and effect. So because you grabbed the thorn by accident, because you didn't see it, remember, it's not really an accident. You just grabbed it. Ow! The effect is you're pricked by the thorn. And then finally, we have the law of gender. Not to be confused with man, woman, boy, girl. That would be sex. When you have an idea, oh my God, I should totally, that's masculine. Because to generate the idea, to come up with the idea is masculine, because now it is projected from you. The idea, remember, is invisible. You can't see it. But the architect, if that's what you are, if you're an engineer or an architect, as soon as you get that idea, what do? You sketch it on a piece of paper. See? Project. You projected it onto the paper. But what's the paper? The paper would be feminine. The paper accepts the drawing. So you see, to be masculine is to project the idea that you generate. Feminine is to accept the idea, that invisible idea, but then all of the necessary people, components, whatever you require to give that idea form, feminine. So those are the principles that we live by. Whether we know them or we don't know them, it is the only thing that we can live by. How do you know? Because every time you plant something, whatever it is that you've planted is the only thing that will grow. Because even though weeds might come in the garden, you specifically planted something, that is what will grow. So you see, whether we know the principles or not, we live by them every single day. There's no way around the principles, because the principles, if you look at the principles, you will see yourself. See, the principles are invisible to the naked eye. They are. Because we don't see them, we see the evidence of them. Remember, the principles are invisible to the naked eye, but what we see is the evidence of them. People will say, well, high tide happens because it's a full moon. The moon is closer to the earth, and so the water rises. Yes, that may be true, but why? Because of the underlying invisible principle of rhythm. That is why. If you see the effect of something, there is a cause. Nothing happens randomly or by accident or by luck. Absolutely nothing. When we say, oh my God, what a coincidence, that just means you don't know that the law is at work. If you have an experience, you caused it. That is the hard part for people to bear. Let me explain again why. You know how when your children, the first thing your parents tell you is, if that ball goes into the street, let it go. Don't chase it. That's what they tell you. Why would they tell you that? Because they don't want you to get hit by a car. We've all been through that, right? That's the first thing we hear when we hear of road safety. Don't go chasing the ball. Don't go chasing the ball. But now, what happens? We're playing and we are so excited, aren't we? What happens? You may forget yourself and forget what you were taught and run right after the ball. Now you may have a near miss. The car stops, barely misses you. Whose fault was that? See, the part I'm trying to get us to understand is when something happens in your life, you do not blame yourself, nor do you beat yourself up. You simply look at what happened in your life and you go, oh my God, okay, I know exactly why that happened. I caused it. I may not remember how I caused it, but I know that I did. I don't want this to happen again. So if you don't want a particular thing that you can see to happen again, what do? Change your thoughts. Change your mental attitude. Some situations are more complex than others, and so they need greater time. So it's not that you need a stiff upper lip to make it through the day or through the world. No, always be supple. Always be like the bamboo, flexible. Bamboo will bend as far as it can go before it breaks. The oak, on the other hand, will break before it ever bends. But neither of them are weak. Because the oak may break, it does not mean it is weak, because it requires a lot of pressure to break an oak tree. They're quite resilient. But the moral is, know who you are so that you know what kind of pressure is required, what kind of force is required. And when I say force, I don't mean do this or else. That would be force. I mean, when I say force, what level of intensity, of passion do you need to move yourself? When you love what you do, no quote unquote force is required because you love it. It is the intensity of that passion that will move you. But if you don't like something, oh, okay, do what I ask and I'm going to give you this. This is what it is. So we don't require force as from the outside of someone making you do something. That is external force. But passion and intensity and the love of what you do from within yourself will make you move with ease, without force. Yeah, but Angela, there's some things that you have to do in life. I understand that. There are always things in life that we're like, for instance, work and school and university. Who wants to go? But if you have a desire to go to school, like university, I went for 5 years. Why? I mean, I didn't really want to go because who does, right? But it was the desire to learn what I went to school for that kept me there. That's why I graduated, because every time I learned something, it was absolutely awesome. It was amazing. So of course I had to do it because that's what kept you going. So you see what kind of power you have? You don't have to force yourself to do anything. Change your perspective of it. Change the perspective of what you're doing. Recognize why you are doing it. And if you say, you know what, I just got to get through this. And I just got to get through this. To make it easier for yourself, you simply, why am I doing it? Why am I doing this? You know, I'm doing it because, and you list the reasons, and you'll start to feel better about doing it. Again, I'm talking about these situations where you're the one making the choice. We don't always start out with the ability to make our own choices because we are children first, and our choices are made for us until a certain age. So this is why, even as we are young, yes, observe. Observe. What are you observing? You are observing what you're being told to do. Always. Because there will come a time that you have to learn from what you just went through. Always learn from where you're at. And what are you learning? You're learning how to make better choices. That's what you're learning. You're learning how to make better choices and implement them day in and day out. There's never a reason that you have to feel defeated, even though sometimes you want to. Believe me. It wasn't too long ago I was rocking in the corner crying, so I understand that too. However, when you remember to use the principles, you do not have to mentally suffer. The principles are the most important thing. It is all they are in the world. The principles, if you use them deliberately, will influence who you meet. It will influence the kinds of friends that you can make. So you see, the principles are not just so you can garden. The principles aren't just because, let me see the night sky because I stargaze, right? That's not just what the principles are for. They're to live your everyday life by. That's what they're for. And so sometimes when we go through a situation and we feel like we've got to be hard and we've got to be strong, and no, not strong as in put your back into it. Strong as in focused. Focus. You know, my favorite line, your focus needs more focus, from Karate Kid, right? That's all we are. The ability to focus and pay attention. If you can practice staying focused on what? Whatever you choose. It is part of meditation. You see, lots of people think that when you sit down or you lay down to meditate, that you're turning off your mind. You're not turning off the mind because you cannot turn it off. Its job is to think. That's its job, so it will do it. You're always thinking. But the way to master the mind is to have the ability to tell it what to think, how to feel, and how long to think it. This is how one disciplines the mind. This is how we discipline our minds, by telling it what to think, because you know its job is to think. But do you want to let it think here, there, and everywhere? No, you want to pull it in. You want to rein it in and focus. So if you're having a situation, you don't require a stiff upper lip. You need to know what it is you want. Always. If you don't know what you want, how will you know how to behave? Well, your habits will choose it for you. This is why it is important to practice your focus and where you put your attention, because out of that you will create a habit. What is a habit? Something you do the same way every time. You do it the same way every time. And all I have to do is watch you. And I'll know what your habit is, because you will do it. Always. We're governed by our habits, you know. Habits are what? The law of rhythm. So if you want your situation to change, it is not enough to complain and go, oh my God, I hate it. That's not going to get you anywhere. Because remember, as within, so without. So if you complain within, you'll have something on the outside to complain about. So to fix it, acknowledge what it is that's the problem. I tell you this every single day, and I tell it to you every night. There will come a time that you will stop hearing it and you will start doing it. That will happen naturally for you. So if you say, oh my God, I totally hate that. Fine, acknowledge the problem, because inside the problem is the solution. If you say, oh my God, I'm so hungry right now. Oh, that's the problem. So what's the solution? You eat. Simple. Very simple. So when you acknowledge the problem, you will see the solution. And when you see the solution, think about it, something happens. When you focus on your problem, what happens in your body? Your body responds to the problem, either with anxiety, or some people get a headache, or they worry, right? Clenched jaw, clenched fist, because they're thinking about the problem and they don't know how to fix it. So the body's going to tell you exactly what you're thinking, because it has to, as within, so without. So if the mind is tense, so shall the body be tense. So if you focus on the problem and you feel the tension in your body, what do you think will happen to you if you focus on the solution? The body will relax, because it has to. As within, so without. So if you can catch yourself when you're in the midst of a problem and see the solution and entertain the solution, because remember, when you complain about the problem, you're entertaining the problem. But what about the solution? Entertain the solution. Oh my God. Wouldn't it be? Neville Goddard gives us a simple little phrase. He goes, isn't it wonderful? Because that's the solution. The solution would be wonderful, wouldn't it? So isn't it wonderful? And the minute you make that statement, isn't it wonderful, for your solution? Now your body begins to feel a particular way. to match what you are thinking about. And sometimes if you get stuck with, I don't know what I'm thinking. If you get stuck with, I don't know what I'm thinking, look at how you are behaving. And you will clearly see how you're thinking. And then, because that is the law of cause and effect, you can't find the cause, look at the effect. You can see the effect. You'll trace it all the way backwards and you'll find the cause. It's a simple thing. So you see, a stiff upper lip is not required to have a good life. It is the knowledge of the principles and the bravery to do them. You must be brave to do your principles. Of course. It will take, because why? It will take every ounce of your memory to remember them, for one, until they become part of your memory. You have to remember them. Because when you remember them, you'll see what you're doing. It is always in your best interest to know what you are doing and why you are doing it. Because if you do not know why you are doing it, well, then you are being controlled by something. But if you know why you are doing it, you have control now. You must always have control of your thoughts. Well, how do you control them? Not by brute force, remember. Not by pretending they don't exist. That is not how one has control. One has control by recognizing, oh, this is what I'm feeling right now. This is what I'm thinking right now. Do I want that? Yeah, but this person's really getting on my nerves. Can I just slap them? Wait, whoa. 0 to 60? Because play it out in your mind first. If you slap this person, what's going to happen to you? What's the effect? You can already see the effect. Somebody's going to get punished somewhere. Somebody's going to get arrested. You can clearly see the effects. Stop and think about what you're doing. But you see what happens to us? When we get caught up in the moment, we forget ourselves. And when you forget yourself, let me tell you, you do foolish things. You're not put here to be foolish. Not at all. So you catch yourself. And trust me, I've had experiences with people that you're like, oh my God, if I see you one more time, I'm going to just slap you. No. And I have to remind myself, no, Angela, no, that is not the way. You don't want to go to jail. Relax yourself. And you know what also helps me? Remember, you are in a mental mood. You're in a mood. You're in a mental state. Do you think that you're the only one in a mental state? What if George woke up today and he's in a bad mood? He's in a state. If he doesn't know that he's in that bad mood and he doesn't know how to change it, he's going to walk through the day in that bad mood, and he will come across many people in his bad mood. But if you can spot the fact that George is in a bad mood, then George acts a fool. You can say, oh, George is in a mood today. Let me give George some space. Because if you forget yourself and you don't recognize that George is in a bad mood, and you allow that bad mood to pull you in, now you're in a bad mood, oh boy. That's no fun at all, is it? Because then there's going to be a fight, there's going to be an argument. And that's not how we live our lives. We do not live our lives being pulled to and fro by every wind, by every mood. You must remain in control by observation of yourself. And when you observe yourself and your moods, you can say, I really like this mood I'm in today. I just do. And you live your day in that mood. But if you say, oh, this is not a good mood, honey. I don't like this mood. Do you know what your superpower is? You can change your mood. Of course you can. You're not held prisoner by your mood. That's the difference. If you don't know that you're in a mood, you're a prisoner to it. But if you know what mood you're in, you are ruler of it. You must learn how to rule your own life, how to govern your own behavior. And out of that comes self-discipline. What is discipline? To teach someone how to be. So you are teaching yourself how to be. So every time you practice the principles, it doesn't mean you have to have a boring life. Come on now. That's not what it means. It just means you are recognizing that whatever mood, mental attitude, or state that you are in, that will dictate your experience on the outside. So if you say you want to have a good life, well, then you have to have a good mental mood. What does good look like? That depends on you. That depends on you. What does good look like? So if I say, well, I'm a good girl, I don't swear. Well, that's good for me. But some people cuss. You can't walk through this world telling people, you better not be cussing. That's what I used to do when I was a kid. But here I am now. I'm cussing. See, what's good for me may not be good for you. But Neville Goddard, you gotta love him. He says, if you practice the golden rule, do unto others as you would have them do unto you, that will keep you from harming someone else. Do you want to go out there and have somebody cuss you out? No. Chances are no. Well, then don't walk out there and cuss somebody out. And you know what people say to me? Yeah, well, Angela, not everybody is like that. Because I'm kind doesn't mean they'll be kind. I understand why they would say that. But you know what? Then they don't know the principles. Why? Because if you hold kindness within, you will experience kindness on the outside. Why? Because you're the one holding it. As within, so without. You are the one holding it. So if you are mad at George, and every time you're brushing your teeth and you're like, oh, George is getting on my nerves, and you're arguing with George, what do you think happens? As within, so without. You are arguing. It doesn't matter who you think you're arguing with in your head. As long as you're arguing within, you will argue with people on the outside. And you've seen it happen before in your own life. Of course you have. This is how we live by the principles every day, by being observant. But Angela, that's so much work to always be watching myself. Is it? Is it work? What would you prefer? To go through life not knowing what you are so that anybody can manipulate you? Or do you want to go through life knowing exactly who and what you are and knowing that you can change? That's your power. That is your power. It doesn't matter what the thing is. Because we have students in the house, we'll talk about school for a minute. If you have a class and you got somebody in that class that, is not always nice. It could be the teacher. It could be a fellow student. Get into your mind's eye, because that's where you are in the first place. The moment you're on your way to school and you're thinking about that person and you're dreading going. See? What are you walking in a state of? What's your mental mood? Dread. What do you think is going to happen when you get there? Yeah, but they're always there and they're always bugging me. I know. But if you practice the principles, there was a story a woman wrote into Neville. She was a teacher. And she had this one student in her class, and she was the bad girl. She was always in the office, and they had a conference and they were going to suspend her. But the teacher wrote Neville and said, because she had always gone to Neville's conferences and his lectures, and she remembered what Neville said: use your imagination, see this person better than they are, and they have to become it. Now, she wrote Neville and she said, listen, Neville, I practiced it. She said, this girl was bad. She was a bad girl. She didn't listen. She argued all the time, and she was suspended all the time, and they were going to expel her from school. She says, but Neville, she's a kid. That's going to follow her for her whole life if she's expelled from school. And I didn't want that for her. So it was the weekend now. So she goes home on that Friday, and she sat there and she imagined that she went to class and she taught class, and there was no arguments in class. And she said, I just saw the class as flowing smoothly, and that the girl was attentive and she was learning and she was having fun. That's what she wrote Neville, and she said that she did for the whole weekend. If she had time, she just did it. And she felt, because that's what she really wanted for this young girl. She wanted a good life for this girl. Monday morning rolls around. She goes to school. The girl comes in. Good morning. And she calls her name, Miss Whatever. And the teacher was like, she didn't show surprise on her face. Yeah. But in her heart, she smiled. Good morning, little bit. So in her heart, she smiled because she knew what she had done. She knew what she had done the whole weekend. Do you know the girl was not expelled from school? She changed her entire attitude. Now, why did she change her attitude? Did she change her attitude because she was forced to do it? Was she manipulated to do it? No. She changed her attitude because the teacher saw a new attitude. So the teacher was the one in the mood with that new attitude. And she saw the girl in a new light. And because she saw the girl in a new light, she was the one walking with it. So as within, so without. That's what she had to do. You see? And so because she saw that, the girl became it. Not because she was forced or manipulated. Not at all. She saw it. And because she saw it as within, she had to experience it on the outside. So today, it doesn't matter what it is you're dealing with. You don't need... I would like a little bit of quiet. You don't have to have a stiff upper lip. Right? You don't need a stiff upper lip. You need to use the principles. So you get into your mind's eye and you see it going the way you want it to go. See it going the way you want it to go. Now, when you see it the way you want it to go, two things or one thing will happen. What will happen is your body will respond and say, yes, I agree with whatever you saw. Or your body will say, I don't believe that. One thing will happen. Your body will respond and either say, yes, I agree. Or your body will say, I Lies you tell, right? Which one do you think is going to happen? Which one do you think is going to happen? The one that feels the strongest in your body. Why? Because your body is telling you your body is telling you what you presently believe to be true. Your body is telling you what you believe to be true based on the feeling. This is why feelings are important. They tell you what you believe. They show you, as within, so without. And sometimes we don't even know what we're thinking, but if you pay attention to what you feel, you'll know exactly what you believe. So when you are imagining and you believe what you imagine, your body will confirm it, with a peaceful feeling, at ease. But if you do not believe what you are saying to yourself, your body will say, yeah, right. How? There'll be some anxiety there. There'll be some sadness there. See, nothing ever changes in my world. That's not possible. That's too hard. I don't know anybody. That's what your body will tell you. So how do you get the thought and the body to match? How? Well, you begin by asking a simple question. Because you're trying to get the body to move from what it presently holds to be true to where you want it to go. So what do? You ask it. Because now when you ask it, it has to answer you. And when it answers you, now you'll get a feeling again. So you ask yourself, what would it be like? Or what would it feel like to me if this thing were true for me? What would it feel like? And you wait there and it's going to start answering. If I had this ideal life, if I got up every morning and I did this, what would that be like to me? You start to get a little excited. Of course you do, because naturally it happens. Your body naturally begins to respond. So then you're asking it, really? That's what it would be like? Well, tell me more. I want to know more of what that would feel like. And so your imagination starts to run wild with all of the things that you sent it to get, which is, what would it feel like if I were the ideal person I wanted to be? And you start seeing all of these things and your body is excited. And you start to say, yes, that's what I want. Now they match. But did you know you can override it? You can override that feeling. And you can override it by saying, that's nonsense. That's never going to happen. And then bam, you go right back to where you used to be. Because the belief that you hold is true to you. So when you say, that's never going to happen, you go right back. But if you allow yourself to answer that question, what would it be like? Do you see what you're doing? Because how did you get to the other side? By asking it, oh my God, what if that happened? And you start to see, because you're asking, well, what if that happened to me? You're going to see it. But what if that happened? Oh no, what if that happened? You start to see. Your imagination does what? It runs amok with all of the things you're asking it to see. That's the law of polarity at work. They're not opposites. You just simply asked one question. What was that? What would it be like if? You asked the question, what would it be like if? And because you asked the question, your imagination will begin to answer it for you. And if you just let it answer it and accept what it shows you, because why would you accept what the imagination shows you? You asked the question. So if you're the one asking the question, well, accept the answers based on the question you asked. Is that not what you want? See, so when you ask the question, what would it be like if I were what, and you finish the question, what would it be like if I were affluent? What would it be like if I were well known? What would it be like if I were famous? Now you're the one asking the question. So the imagination, which is you, will come back and show you all of the options. It'll show you all of them. One of them is going to feel the best way to you, but then that's the one you pick. And you say, yes, that's the one I want. So why then would you get mad if you go, oh my God, what if that happened? Oh no, what if that happened? You're going to see all of them. So ask the question that you are willing to accept the answer to. If you don't want to know the worst case scenarios, do not ask that question. Because if you ask that question and you get the answer, you see how the answer makes you feel? Well, then, bam, as within, so without. So if you ask the question, what would it be like if, oh my God, dot, 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 answer the question. And you will begin to see all of the possible scenarios. Pick the one you like best. Pick the one that feels best. Or here's our word of the day, resonates. Pick the one that resonates in your bosom best. And go with that one. Because if you ask, it means you want an answer. So if you are the one asking, what would it be like if, and you get the answer, why would you reject the answer to say, that's not possible? So you see, whatsoever you ask for, if you believe that you have received it, then you will. Well, did you not receive the imaginal images? According to your question, did you not receive them? Was it not what you wanted to know? So why would you doubt it? Why would you doubt it? Then believe. Holy macaroni, I'm talking to myself today. I'm going to tell you because that just hit me. Whoo, that just hit me. Because if you're the one asking the question, what would it be like if I were the man or the woman I wanted to be? And you begin to see all of it. Remember, you're praying. As soon as you ask, you're praying. And you're seeing what it is. Well, believe it, because you're the one who asked the question and you're seeing the answer. So you already know what you've been told. If you, whatsoever you ask for in prayer, if you believe, you will receive it. That's what you're told. It happens on the other end of polarity as well. The place you want to move from. Oh my God. Oh no. What if that happened? What if that happened? And you do what? Believe it. And then what happens? Whatsoever you ask for, when you believe it. If you believe it, what happens? You receive it. That's exactly what happens. You asked for it. And how did you ask for it? You asked the question. You sure did. But what if that? If you want the right answer or the most favorable answer that will work in your benefit, then ask the appropriate question. What would it be like if I were experiencing this kind of life? And when you see it, believe it. Because you asked for it. So now what, you're going to look in the mirror and ask and then just call yourself a liar and doubt it? I trust that that makes sense because that's what we do. So you don't have to have a stiff upper lip. You need to practice the principles. Practice them. And the moment you ask that question, what would it be like if I were living my ideal life, and you name what that is, you're using the principles. Why? Because you are aware, right? Mentalism. And then you go to correspondence. You say, okay, here's what I want to be aware of. I'm aware of this right now. And so when I ask, what would it be like if, that's what I want to become aware of. So as within, so without. Why? Everything moves. You're moving from where you were to where you want to be. And in that movement, there's a pattern that unfolds. So you don't have to force it to make it happen. The pattern unfolds naturally, which will cause you to do something to bring about the desired effect that you said you wanted. Why? Because you projected the image out of your mind into the womb of the world. And then you asked the question. And so it has to answer you and come back. See, you've gone through all 7 principles by asking one question. What would it be like if I were ... That's it. So do you need a stiff upper lip? Nah, honey. No stiff upper lip required. Just know what you want, though, and ask the question. But let me tell you, when you ask the question, you're asking that question because you know that when you ask, you shall receive. And because you were the one asking that specific question, you know that the answer will be the right one. So then that means you will believe whatever it was you asked for, and you will receive it. So tell me why we walk through life unfulfilled. Yikes. Yeah, Angela. Why you walking through life in a state of unfulfillment? Sounds like somebody got to take a dose of their own medicine. See, that is the beauty of getting up and learning the principles every day. The more you hear them, the more you practice. The more you practice, the better you get at doing them. But you do what you be. You have to be it. You become them with practice. And when you become, you do what you've become. Well, you can't do what you're not. Anyway, let us take a brief moment, shall we, to welcome everyone into the space. Yes? Oh, evolutionary. Hello, I see you. And it's symmetric. I see you today here on Twitter. I didn't see Hilarion and I didn't see Beloved Love Troll here on Twitter, but I see y'all. Welcome to the space, and I'm glad you're here. It is always a pleasure and a privilege to see you here and spend time with you here on Twitter. Who's on YouTube and Facebook this morning? I know there's somebody on Facebook because they clicked the like button. Yes, click that like button and share this message because you know somebody needs to hear it. I needed to hear it. Who's here? Hey, Renee, Jeff, darling, Miss T Versation, and hey, viewing pleasure. And for the others who've not made themselves known in the chat here on YouTube and Facebook, I see you. I know you're here. Fan base who is in the house. CM is in the house. Happy is in the house. Chrissy is in the house. Hello, Rydell. You're in the house too. Miss McQueen. Dawn. Jay is in the house. Tajane is in the house. Oh, Red Ace. Hello. Welcome. Welcome to the space. Hey, Moon. Flo Smiles. Hey, where's Oracle Treehouse? Let me pop into the chat. um, just to make sure I'm not missing anything. Red Ace or go to smoke. No, no, no. Listen, I see you. Thank you, Red Ace. The Grand Oracle Treehouse was in here too. Mm. Listen, I trust. I trust. So good to see you, Jay. It really is. I love you. Um, I trust that this beautiful day, this beautiful Wednesday, you will apply the principles in a new light. In a new light. Because I know I will. I know I will. Because I know what just happened to me just now when I was telling you, what would it be like if? You're going to see all the scenarios. One of them will jump out at you because that's your personality. That's the one that fits the best. And because you asked the question and you saw the response, because you asked, the effect was the answer. Every cause has its effect and every effect is cause. So now, because you've seen the effect and it is desirable, you accept it. And once you accept it, you say, it is done. And you walk in the attitude of what? It is done. And it just unfolds from there. Not because you force it to happen, but because it has its own way of presenting itself in your world. That hit me like a ton of bricks, and I heard it like I've never heard it before. Or in this case, I heard it like I've never said it before. So when you hear the bowl and bird song this morning, contemplate, what would it be like if I were the man or the woman I wanted to be? And you would name what that thing is. Because I don't know what kind of man or woman you want to be, but you know. And if you don't know, you better ask somebody. Hey, so who you asking? What would it be like if? You're asking you. Who better to give you the answer? Well, who knows you better than you do? Oh, anyhow. Fine, I will play the bowl because I can see you're on top of it this morning, aren't you, a little bit? So contemplate that as you hear the bowl and bird song. Can you believe the answer that you've received? Can you believe the answer that you've received? Just a question. It's just a question. Let's get the bowl, shall we? Because bird song is playing. Reminds me of that song, My Baby, He Don't Talk Sweet. But this one, he don't talk sweet, but but he's got a lot to say. Yes, honey, I hear you. I'm coming with the bowl. Relax so you can get to be part of it too. Countdown initiated. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Thank you all for being here on this lovely, lovely day. Lovely day, lovely day. And it's, I can't stand the rain. I can't smile. Yeah, it's raining for real, but I can't sing too much because I'm on YouTube, right? But it is raining right now. And so it's glorious. It really is a glorious day. Tonight, I don't remember the name of the lecture. I don't, but I'm sure it'll be a fun one. And so that's tonight at 10:45 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, where we fall asleep in the state of the wish fulfilled. Because trust me, it'll put you to sleep, but that's a good thing because spirit hears. Right? So remember, this Saturday is the Flourish pop-up Q&A workshop. So that's at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. You want to come out for that one. The information for YouTube, it is on my community page. Twitter, it's in my timeline. Fanbase, it is on my timeline. Make sure to come on out for that. Bring a friend. If you bring a friend, you pay $35 and they pay $35. If you don't have a friend, we'll find you one. Because who wants to pay $75? But you know what I'm saying. So If you don't have a friend, we will find you one. Don't worry, there's always a friend to be had. You got a friend in me. Hey. Anyhow, come on out for that workshop on this Saturday. Um, and it's fully interactive. So, we're going to have a good time. Once you sign up, I'll send you the private link 24 hours before so it doesn't get buried in your emails. Because trust me, I got a lot of email. I'm like, who keeps emailing me? And so I just should go through and whittle it down. I got over 1,000. And then I'm like, oh, God, why? I look at the number and I'm just like, oh, I hate seeing the number in my notifications. I'm like, ah. So I'm trying to get rid of the number, but that means I have to follow up on the emails, right? I get so overwhelmed with those emails. Like, it's just email, not from people, because people DM me all the time and I respond right away because that's what it is. But I'm talking like emails, you know. Did you do this, Angela? You know, Lionsgate portal. I'm like, oh. I hit unsubscribe. That's what I do, right? Free emails. But anywho, I love you all. I'll see you tonight at 10:45 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Fan base, we hang out a little bit. So I'm coming for you. So YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, I love you. And I will see you tonight. Hey, Hilarion, you're catching us on the tail end. Well, you'll just have to catch the replay. I love you, and I'll see you tonight's the night. Sorry. Hey, Mel. Anywho, much love to you all. Much love to you all. YouTube, Facebook, Twitter. Fan base, hold on, I'm coming. I was just about to sing it, but I don't need